Training camp's going to be wild this year. We already know. Hell, Cam Akers didn't even make it to training camp before tearing his ACL. And Michael Thomas apparently had surgery in June, and now he's going to miss a month or more of the season. So we're off to a great start. The metaphorical shit has already hit the fan. But here's the thing. You've got a ton of fantasy-relevant storylines throughout the entire league. Will this quarterback play? Will that quarterback be allowed to play? Is this quarterback going to suck as bad as he did last year now that he's on a new team with his old offensive coordinator? The list goes on. And what about so many of these other running backs coming back from injuries? Quarterbacks, wide receivers going to new teams. I'm going to cover what I think are the top 7 fantasy storylines heading into training camp for the 2021 season. And listen, I can't hit on everything. I hope you understand that. But I do have videos on so many of these other topics, like will Saquon Barkley be back at full strength heading into the start of the season? What should we expect from Dak Prescott? And so much more. So check everything out on the Awesemo Fantasy Football channel. Once you're done with this one, let's dive into it. But before we do me a solid. If you enjoy these videos, you think they helped you, hit that thumbs up. It's huge for us here at Awesemo. Subscribing to the channel as well. Help us hit that 5,000 subscriber mark and continue to grow this channel so we can keep putting out great free content. Let's do it. The Steelers have definitely been one of the more difficult teams to figure out this offseason. So hopefully we'll begin to get some answers in training camp. Ben Roethlisberger is coming off a season where he attempted 608 passes and threw for 33 touchdowns while finishing as the QB 14 on the year. But things unraveled late in the season as the Steelers dropped 4 of their last 5 games after starting the year 11-0. Here's the thing, though. Pittsburgh had a really easy schedule during their winning streak, but they also got absolutely screwed by COVID-prompted rescheduling, having to play 3 games in 12 days and 4 in 20. That's a ton. Roethlisberger couldn't have looked worse as that grueling schedule came to a close, but 2021 is a brand new year, even if he isn't getting any younger. I'm actually not even here to talk about whether or not I think Big Ben is going to have a big year. And I mean big from a fantasy perspective, if you know what I mean. But more so to talk about the huge discrepancy in where he's being drafted compared to the rest of the Pittsburgh offense. Check this out. Najee Harris has a second-round ADP, despite the Steelers' offensive line still projected to suck. While Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, and Juju Smith-Schuster are all being drafted inside the top 7 rounds. Roethlisberger currently has an ADP of 193 as the 27th quarterback off the board. So it seems like there's a clear disconnect here. Let's see what this team is looking like over the next month and maybe start fine-tuning our decisions. So the question is, if this entire Steelers offense is being drafted inside the 7th round with confidence, shouldn't Ben Roethlisberger be getting some more love? Or are we just overvaluing this entire Steelers offense for 2021? It's got to be one of them. I'll leave the answer up to you. No one wants to talk about the Jets because, well, they're the Jets. But you couldn't count on one hand the teams who have more question marks on offense than New York heading into training camp. Actually, you might not be able to count a single team that has more uncertainty from a fantasy standpoint than the Jets. First off, the backfield, a total unknown. Michael Carter was drafted in the 4th round and has an 8th round ADP in fantasy, despite having no idea what his workload is going to look like. Tevin Coleman's being drafted 7 rounds later and followed both his head coach and offensive coordinator over from San Francisco. Could he be the week 1 starter? Right now, I'd rather take my chances on Coleman as a super late round pick with very little risk. There's also LaMichael Pirine and Ty Johnson, whose roles are clearly undefined as well. And what about the pass catchers? Corey Davis signed a 3-year, $37 million contract this offseason and is coming off his best statistical year as a pro, posting 5 games of 100-plus yards in only 14 starts while averaging 10.9 yards per target and 15.1 yards per reception. Yet he's being drafted behind rookie Elijah Moore, who has yet to play a single snap at the NFL level. And let's not forget that while his role could be downsized, Jamison Crowder is still on the roster, and Denzel Mims was a 2nd-round pick just 1 year ago. All of this is to say that we have no idea what's going on in New York. And that's not even taking into account that a rookie quarterback in Zach Wilson will be under center this year. Believe it or not, there are few teams that I'll be paying closer attention to in camp than the Jets this summer. You should be doing the same. Carson Wentz was so bad last year that he led the league in interceptions and was 2nd in fumbles despite playing only 12 games. It was the type of season you'd think a quarterback could never come back from. But we're about to find out whether or not that's true. Wentz's offensive line was in shambles last season, and his pass-catching group was comprised of mostly cast-offs and unknowns. The play calling from Doug Peterson was also suspect at best. So heading to Indianapolis to play under head coach Frank Reich, who helped lead the Eagles to their first ever Super Bowl win back in 2018 and had a lot to do with Wentz being on pace to win the MVP before a season-ending ACL tear dashed those dreams, could actually revive Wentz's career. It's not out of the question to think that a top 5 offensive line and a stellar young running back in Jonathan Taylor could make Wentz's job a lot easier than it was a year ago. But even if he does come back from the dead, there's still plenty of question marks surrounding the Colts wide receiver corps. Michael Pittman's the most exciting receiver on the roster and is being drafted as the wide receiver 47 in the 8th round, but it's not like we've seen him produce over the course of a full season yet. Paris Campbell's played 9 games in 2 seasons and has to prove that he can stay on the field, while T.Y. Hilton is coming off his worst full season ever. Training camp and possibly even preseason is going to tell us a lot about what this Colts passing game looks like in 2021. And if Wentz can even remotely resemble the 2017 version of himself that at the time appeared destined for greatness, we're going to be in business. But before we do, you got to check out Underdog Fantasy if you haven't done so yet. You've already heard me say it a million times if you've watched my videos in the past. I love Underdog Fantasy. It is by far my favorite platform for best ball drafts. They've got the $3.5 million best ball tournament going on right now, over $1 million to first. It's the biggest tournament in best ball history. It's fantastic. The platform's awesome. You can draft on the app, desktop, laptop, whatever you want. And if you use the promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO, you'll get $25 when you sign up and deposit. Use it on whatever you want. Man, it's been so popular lately that the $50K to first, $5 to enter puppy already filled up like a week ago, and we're not even in August yet. So I'm assuming we're going to see more of those type of tournaments as we draw closer to the season. If you want to draft now or you want to wait closer till we kick off for week 1, whatever you want to do doesn't matter. But when you do it, when you sign up, use that promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO. Get your $25 injected into your account when you sign up and deposit using the promo code Awesemo. I'll see you over there. UnderdogFantasy.com. Keep your eyes glued on these few teams as we enter training camp, because quarterbacks who are being drafted as backups right now will absolutely be drafted as starters if they win the job by week 1. I'm talking, of course, about Justin Fields and Trey Lance. Matt Nagy already said that Andy Dalton is a week 1 starter, but maybe he feels obligated to say that after the Bears signed Dalton to a 1-year, $10 million contract this offseason. Having your $10 million quarterback never start a game wouldn't look great. But in the end, winning is what matters here. And if Fields blows Dalton out of the water in camp, the decision will already be made for Nagy. Fields is a dual-threat quarterback who can become an immediate fantasy stud. The same can be said for Trey Lance if he's able to overtake Jimmy Garoppolo this summer. With weapons like George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and a great running game, Lance will be primed for fantasy success straight out of the gate. Feel free to check out my late-round quarterbacks video for more details on why Lance and Fields are probably going to be legitimate fantasy superstars sooner than later, but just know for now that these are 2 of the biggest pieces to pay attention to in training camp. As far as other rookie quarterbacks go, Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson are locked in the starting jobs unless they're just unmitigated disasters at camp, and even still, they'll probably still get the week 1 nod. While Mac Jones could push Cam Newton for the starting job, but it's hardly a desirable one right now in New England. I'm not going to lie. I've become pretty fatigued by the whole Aaron Rodgers storyline. At this point, it's been dragged out far enough and we'd all just like some clarity. Remember, the only reason these guys play the game is to make us fantasy players happy. Yeah, us guys who sit at home and critique the play and decision-making of world-class athletes. Do what's right for us, Aaron. Seriously, though, if Rodgers plays, Davante Adams becomes my wide receiver 1. He led all receivers in fantasy points, touchdowns, and red zone targets last year, while only playing 14 games. Right now, Adams is being drafted as the wide receiver 5. Aaron Jones is currently the 12th running back going off the board with an ADP of 18, and I'd without question be moving him up to the late first round if Rodgers is on the field. Jones finished 2020 as the RB5, and now we won't have to contend with Jamal Williams for passing down work. You get the point. Even the peripheral players on this roster are massively affected by Rodgers' decision, probably even more than the elite heavy volume guys like Adams and Jones. So whether it's Rodgers and Adams simultaneously posting cryptic Instagram pictures of Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, or a major Las Vegas sportsbook pulling all of its NFC North markets off the board in preparation for Rodgers' retirement, we truly have no idea what's going on. Wait, never mind. This will be my third edit of the day before we can release this video on the Aaron Rodgers saga. Now we get news from Adam Schefter, a wee bit more reliable than Ian Rappaport in the past, saying that Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers are close to an agreement that would keep him there in Green Bay for at least this season. The deal is not done, but it's close, and the Packers are offering concessions. That means that as of now, I'll be drafting Rodgers, Aaron Jones, and Davante Adams as if Rodgers will be on the field to start the season. And I've already done several drafts today after the Rappaport news, after the Schefter news, and you're still getting good deals on Davante Adams, on Aaron Jones, and on Aaron Rodgers. So as of now, the plan is draft this team as if Aaron Rodgers is going to be on the field. The Deshaun Watson saga only became more intense this past week when the reigning NFL passing yards leader agreed to report to training camp on time. But Watson isn't reporting to camp because he and the Texans have managed to repair what appeared to be an unsalvageable relationship, but because it will keep him from being fined $50,000 per day if he didn't show up. Watson's camp is still adamant that their client wants out of Houston, and it seems unlikely that he'll ever play another snap for the Texans. Still, Watson has not been placed on the commissioner's exempt list because, according to Tom Pelissero, it has not been concluded by the league that a major violation occurred. Pelissero also reported that the Texans are now willing to listen to trade offers, but would require at least 3 first-round picks and more. That's a high asking price for a player who's still under investigation. What if Watson is traded to a team like the Eagles, though? They already have a ton of early-round draft capital in 2022 and could have exactly 3 first-round picks depending on how Carson Wentz's season plays out in Indy. They'll immediately become one of the most intriguing and appealing fantasy offenses in football. And keep in mind that Jalen Hurts becomes a far riskier option now at his 91 ADP. He's the 8th quarterback going off the board. If, in the unlikelihood that Deshaun Watson were to end up in Philly and they were to trade away all of that early round draft capital in 2022, Deshaun Watson would obviously become the immediate starter and Jalen Hurts would have 0 fantasy value unless traded to another team. I've already done a couple drafts since this news has broke on Deshaun Watson, and I've watched Jalen Hurts' ADP slip in leagues where you have some sharper drafters. I think that's the right move for now, especially given that he's entirely unproven and has only started 4 games at the NFL level. You would think that Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson had to be number 1 on this list, right? But I'm putting backfield timeshares here for a very specific reason. There's so many damn question marks for these committees going into training camp. Look at it. I'm always interested to see which running backs are going to win the job in camp among teams with no definitive bell cows. And in many cases, there's still going to be a timeshare. But one back might be more impressive, thus earning more opportunity to eventually run away with the majority of work. Will Raheem Mostert still get team-high carries each week over Trey Sermon? Or will James Conner impress Cliff Kingsbury enough to keep Chase Edmonds in a backup role? Or what about in Denver, where Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon will be in a battle straight out of the gate? I'll also be paying close attention to Jacksonville, especially considering Travis Etienne's being drafted in the early 6th round right now, despite us having no idea what his true involvement will be, alongside James Robinson and Carlos Hyde. You can watch all of my other videos to get more insight on where I stand on these players. I did a ton of running back videos, late round running backs, handcuff running backs after the first round, you name it. I got you covered on all fronts, and we got playlists that break it all down by position on the channel homepage. But for now, I'm just throwing out there a bunch of options, a bunch of teams that we need to be paying super close attention to. And pay particularly close attention to the Rams, where Cam Akers just went down for the season before it even began. Darrell Henderson is justifiably skyrocketing up the rankings right now, but will LA bring in another experienced back to split the load with Henderson? All of these questions are still unclear, but the sooner we get the answers, the more prepared we'll be to take care of business in 2021. That's why training camp, while sometimes slow and uneventful, can provide a treasure trove of valuable information for those of us willing to put in the time. What's your biggest fantasy training camp storyline for 2021? hit me with a comment down below. I read all of them and I try to respond to all of them as well. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe while you're at it, and head over to Awesemo.com. Check out all the great fantasy football and DFS content we've got, headed up by the #1 ranked DFS player in the world. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll catch you back here for the next one. Peace.